All right, friends, welcome back to the Crisis Report. It is November 30th, 2025, at least for a little bit longer. We appreciate you being here. We hope you will hit that like button and do the subscribe thing and darken out the bell and yada yada to the yada. Um, Hopefully, you're over on Rumble, where we are now dual streaming. You can see my wonderful downvoter. He downvotes a video basically within 30 seconds because, well, when you're a douchebag with no life, that's kind of what you do. So let me just put in a little welcome to him. And we appreciate you being here. We've got a lot going on. Mr. Maduro has made an appearance. So he's back. He was gone for 4 days. So, yeah, I guess we're going to figure out what happens, We got all that. Then, of course, other things. The crazy stuff going on with the financials. Our financials are pretty screwy patooey right now. But we'll see, We're going to cover it all. Covered over on the PrepperNow how Social Security is basically broke. And you have about 6-7 years. And honestly, that'll probably accelerate because if you throw in the currency crisis and everything else, we got major problems going on, and they're all in the plumbing of the financial system. And most people don't understand that. So, you're the smart kids, so you know what to do. And we're going to tell you why you should be doing it. Okay? We're brought to you by Augusta Precious Metals. If you are into possibly taking your 401k or IRA and putting it into gold and silver, this company is one of the highest rated out there, mentioned by CNBC. They're Better Business Bureau rated for a reason. They're good at what they do. So if you really want to be with a good company that's not there to sell you a bag of terrible goods, I honestly wouldn't join up with them unless they didn't have the reputation that they do. So other than that, friends, we're here, and we're going to be talking all about it. Looks like we got some kids in the classroom already. We got our friends. Like to say hello to our friends over on Rumble, and all is well. So it is wartime, correct, Sergeant Rocker? Let's get started on that very correct sentiment that it is wartime here by taking over. You can find us on Substack, where there is a full accounting of what we do here, a transcript, if you will. And Minds, Gab, Twitter, X, Truth Social, subscribe to our locals. You can become a member here. Please consider membership if you really like what we're doing here. The best way to keep old Borgarino off my back is to become a member. Unfortunately, it's true. It's only a couple bucks a month, but you're going to get 1 to 2 really jam-packed, filled intel, what's going on in the world, news, whatever you want to call it. In about 20 to 30 minutes, you're going to get it right now, right here, by a guy that has some really good sources and goes and finds it and tells you about things that other people aren't talking about as they sit over there and give you AI videos and AI influencers and AI crap. This is all human and has been for many years. Okay? So let's get started. We appreciate you being here. And this is your crisis report for November 30th, 2025. Get you loaded up onto the screen. And bada bing, bada boom. And there we are. Substack, baby. Join us. Other people are joining us. Mass shooting in California has left 10 people wounded, including several children. Gunman has not yet been captured. Hopefully he's been captured. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu asked President to grant him pardon from corruption charges. New York Times now admits that Minnesota's social services system has been overwhelmed by massive fraud under Governor Tim Walz's watch because, that's what he does. Joe Biden says he's working as hard as he can to secure additional U.S. support for Ukraine. Shouldn't he just be like putting his toes in the sand and leaving everybody alone? I don't know. NATO is gearing up for the possibility of confronting Russia with much less U.S. support as Washington draws down troops and pivots its focus to Asia. Venezuela has imposed a no-fly zone because of ongoing military operations and will remain in place until March 1st, 2026. Now, I think that's incorrect. I think it was done by the Americans. I have a clarity post coming up. I don't think it was Venezuela that did it, but maybe they both have one up. I don't know. New York City Mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani has appointed a progressive switch-hitter rabbi to serve on the city's health committee. So, yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to work well. Israeli army has banned Android phones. iPhones are now mandatory, according to the Jerusalem Post. Third Russian shadow vessel was struck by USVs, this time off the coast of Senegal. Tanker is currently sinking. More videos of the Antifa thugs in Gießen. Only reason why they're so bold is because leftist German state has let them go unpunished for their activities for decades, because that's what all the leftist institutions do, because they're their shock troops, and they know that if they let them go and do it, then they instill fear, and their crappy ideology can be foisted upon us. Trump says not to read anything into his warning about Venezuelan airspace. Doesn't mean a strike is imminent. He did have a call with Maduro. Okay, everything's good. They're buddies. They had milkshakes together. I wouldn't say it went well or badly. It was a phone call. So, cool your jets there. Okay, cool them. Trump says he thinks asylum into the United States will be paused for a long time. We don't want those people. Do you understand that? Because many of them are no good, and they shouldn't be in our country. Countries like Somalia, all they do is go around killing each other, he said. World's biggest wealth fund pushed back against Microsoft by voting against reappointing CEO Satya Nadella, voting yes on proposal for a report about risks of doing business in countries where human rights are a serious problem. Sounds a bit like Mr. Gill Bates. U.S. lawmakers call a review of military strikes against vessels suspected of drug trafficking in the Caribbean following a report alleging Defense Secretary Hegseth ordered all crew members killed during a September attack. Do you really think he did that? I mean, he's a hothead, but I don't think that's beyond. I honestly don't think that. I don't believe it. Trump officials start meeting with Ukraine delegation in Florida for the Ukraine-Russia peace. There goes a couple hundred views on the video. U.S. authorities believe the Afghan immigrant accused of ambushing National Guard members in D.C. was not radicalized until after he came to the United States. Oh, wonderful. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said on Sunday. Was he hanging out in Dearborn? Kurdistan Workers' Party, PKK, has announced that it considers the path of negotiations with Turkey to be exhausted and will no longer engage in any talks. In a statement, the group stressed that the release of Abdullah Öcalan, the leader, is the sole condition for initiating any new political process. Zelensky says Zelensky's days are numbered after Yermak's dismissal, according to the opposition Ukrainian MP Alexander Dubinsky, who is currently in pretrial detention. Zelensky's main problem now is that he no longer governs anything. His days are numbered, he wrote on Telegram. Daily Mail says up to 28,000 Ukrainians could end up on the streets of Scotland after their financial assistance payments were cut. Refers to the 500 sterling, now 350 sterling allowance that they were getting, the Scottish families received for hosting refugees, mostly women, children, and from Ukraine. Now, after the cuts, many displaced people risk losing their homes. According to the Washington Post, the United States will put intense pressure on Zelensky next week to force him to reach a deal to resolve the war in Ukraine. And many Ukrainian troops say that Trump's proposed peace plan, which would require Ukraine to give up the Donbas and limit its military, feels like capitulation, not compromise. From the front line near Pokrovsk, Senior Sergeant Volodymyr Rozhovsky said the idea of recognizing Russian control over the Donetsk and Lugansk regions is a real surrender. He and other soldiers insist they won't abandon territory. They still defend. I don't believe any of that for 1 second. You're really sitting there going, yes, we will fight to the end. They're like, bro, get me home. Venezuela's defense strategy is built on asymmetric warfare, not directed confrontation. U.S. strikes, military plans to disperse nationwide using sabotage, ambush, and guerrilla-style attacks from more than 280 hidden positions. Sounds like your typical leftist fighting style. Second plan, known internally as anarchization, would activate intelligence units and armed pro-government groups to create chaos in Caracas and make the country difficult to control, ungovernable. So I guess we'll just have to see what happens there. Ungovernable. Thousands of masked Islamists take over the area of the Christmas market in London, calling for mass acts of terrorism. Sounds wonderful. London, you're doing well. Humble prediction, this is from Amir Sarfati. In the next 2 to 3 years, Europe will experience a massive wave of popular unrest. Indigenous populations grow increasingly frustrated with the uncontrolled expansion, transforming the continent into something that we don't recognize. First time in Europe's history, the enemies of its culture are not being resisted, they are being welcomed. Although the percentage of Muslim immigrants in Western European countries is still below 15%, their political influence is rapidly outpacing their numbers. Progressive left governments have become dependent on Muslim voting blocs. Native Europeans have become their last priority. Make matters worse, the birth rate of Native Europeans, mostly Christian, has collapsed. Many nations merely declining. It is in free fall. Civilization that refuses to reproduce itself is already on the path to implosion. Into the demographic vacuum, Islam is expanding both numerically and politically. All of this creates a clear cause and effect chain. Uncontrollable immigration, collapsing native birth rates, massive demographic and cultural shifts, growing political dependence on Muslim voters, marginalization of Native Europeans, widespread social unrest, and a continent desperate for a, quote, savior. And is precisely into such an atmosphere that the Dark One will rise, and tragically he will even be welcomed as they promise to restore order. See that happening here too, but we'll see. Years ago, former European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker warned that Europe would be heading toward a profound crisis of identity and stability. Critics later summarized his sentiment like this: Europe is drifting into such chaos that anyone who could save it, be it God or the devil, would be welcomed. Exact wording is often misattributed. The insincere reflects Juncker's repeated concern. Europe has lost the clarity, will, and unity to rescue itself. Remarkable, alarming. Juncker issued this warnings before Europe experienced the full force of the current wave. If the concerns were relevant then, well, how much are they true now, today? Fractured, destabilized, demographically collapsing, unable to defend the foundation of the civilization. Yes, Europe is not just facing political crisis, it is entering a demographic and spiritual vacuum, and they don't stay empty for long. Bottom line, just as you're seeing Christmas lights in mid-November, tells us that Thanksgiving is near. Seeing a desperate, leaderless, chaotic Europe, longing for anyone who can, quote, save it, tells us something far more important. When Europe is ready to receive the Dark One, the rapture is right around the corner. Ahead of an operation in Venezuela, USS Gerald Ford has arrived in the Caribbean Sea. Working will be optional in less than 20 years, according to Elon Musk. Elon Musk predicts that within 2 decades, technological productivity will make employment a choice rather than a necessity. Working at all will be optional, like a hobby. People won't have to work to afford things. You'll all have universal basic income, so yay! I'm sure everybody will totally work for something. They'll find some passion, because Lord knows we're so productive when we have nothing to do. He compared future work to gardening, something done for fulfillment, not survival. Most people are lazy pieces of crap, and nobody's going to be doing it. And it's going to look something like the movie Wall-E, where we're rolling around on roving lazy boys sucking down sodas at $1,000, 1,000 calories a pop. Probably be $1,000 too. Social Security retirement fund is said to be depleted by 2033, which point recipients would see a steep cut in their monthly check. If you'd like to go check out that video over on PrepperNow, I'm sure you will not be notified by the powers that be here as they try to kill the channel. They won't, because they're not going anywhere. California State Representative Carl DeMaio revealed budget data showing Gavin Newsom spent $13.1 billion on health care for illegal aliens, making up nearly 73% of the state's $18 billion deficit. That one is for you, Scrappy Cat. Okay. Russia announces that it will begin evacuating Russian citizens who are in Venezuela. They will send some special flights to be able to get them out of the country. It's now being reported by ATORUS, or the Association of Russian Tour Operators. Miami Herald reports that Maduro asked Trump in its call for an international amnesty for all his crimes against the people in Venezuela and the countries of South America. It was denied. He also asked to maintain control of the armed forces in exchange for holding free elections, like he fooled Biden into agreeing to. Washington denied it, told him he had to leave immediately or face the consequences. A new NOTAM restricting the general non-commercial aviation over parts of Venezuela's southern border with Colombia due to military operations until March 1st, 2026. The areas include the Venezuelan areas of Apure, especially the basin or the Orinoco River. These areas are known for hosting military camps of the Bolivarian National Guard of Venezuela and the Colombia's National Liberation Army, or ELN, as well as positions of FARC's 33rd Front. And that, my friends, is where we are. So, there's my downvoter. Good downvoter. Currently, U.S. polymarket betting market places Salvador Nasrallah as the likely winner of the candidate in Honduras with 55% of the votes. Nasri Asfoura, the Palestinian Honduran backed by Trump and Malay, urged Hondurans to vote and safeguard every ballot, ensuring that he will not declare himself the winner before the official scrutiny of the CNE. He reaffirmed that he will not provide early results and called for a vigilant day in defense of democracy and freedom. So he was the guy that Trump really wanted to win. And, well, we'll just have to see. All right. In Honduras, it is reported that leftist Libre Party's government-backed colectivos are entering ballot recount rooms without authorization. Libre Party members are trying to force the early closure of a ballot box and trying to expel international observers so that they do not witness the recount. Very tense and dangerous. Silver futures at COMEX have surpassed for the first time in history $57 an ounce. They were all-time high of $57.245 an ounce. Polymarket now places U.S.-backed Nasri Tito Asfoura as a 69% chance of winning the presidential election in Honduras. There is no second round in Honduras, so whoever wins, wins. The United States officially designated Venezuela's airspace as a military operation area for the next 3 months until March 1st, 2026. $140 billion was wiped out from the crypto market in the last 4 hours. It's crazy. And there's some key events this week. You've got the ISM manufacturing PMI Monday, JOLTS job opening Tuesday, November ADP non-farm employment Wednesday, November S&P Global Services PMI data Wednesday, ISM non-manufacturing PMI data, all of that. 3 years ago, ChatGPT was announced. Since then, the S&P 500 has added 24 trillion or 2,900 points. That's $22 billion per day for 1,096 days straight. Think about that. Just think about that. China's gold and silver are skyrocketing. Silver inventories and warehouses linked to the Shanghai Futures Exchange are down to 715. That's the lowest since 2016. Silver stockpiles are declining 86% since the 2020 Ronademic. Meanwhile, gold inventories in the Shanghai Gold are probably all down too. Rural home affordability has collapsed. U.S. homebuyers in rural areas need to earn $74,508 a year to afford the typical rural home. Required amount has surged 105.8% over the last 6 years. By comparison, the income needed to afford a home has risen 90.9% in suburban counties. So you need to basically be double what you're making 6 years ago. U.S. tariff revenue surged 281% year over year in October, record $34.2 billion. Over the 3 months ending October, customs and certain excise taxes reached $96.8 billion, more than entire fiscal year 2024. Builds on total customs and excise tax revenues of $215.2 billion. U.S. freight is struggling. Cass freight index dropped 7.8% year over year in August, lowest level since 2020. Index tracks North American freight shipments and remains one of the most important indicators of the U.S. shipping activity. 30th consecutive monthly drop. Bitcoin has extended losses to 5% on the day as crypto erases $150 billion in market cap. And there's no news for crypto. That's why it's so kind of strange. Nothing like brought it down. Just 600 plus million in liquidation today. And Social Security retirement fund is set to be depleted by 2033. Steep cuts to monthly checks are coming. Nobody in the U.S. politics wants to deal with it, or as they're saying here, they prefer not to talk about it. They want to walk away because there's big trade-offs. And the program's own trustees have warned the unsustainability for decades, but it's different now because it's no longer a far-off problem. Threat level, well, Senate candidates in next year's midterms could face the looming insolvency of the end of their terms, putting the issue on the ballot just 11 months from now. And the tinderbox issue, the Gopi Shah Goda, director of the Retirement Security Project at the Brookings Institute, tells Axios it's hard to deal with because it's a long-term problem, but it's coming home. It's going to be painful, and there's no free lunch. Someone's going to lose out. By the numbers, if the Social Security retirement fund is depleted in 2033, it wouldn't be able to only pay 77% of the scheduled benefits. So today they're doing $2,008 a month. That means if it was like that now, it would be only $1,546 a month. Potentially devastating loss of income for those that depend on the program happens automatically if Congress doesn't intervene, and they won't because everything's going to crap to bed. Hey, look at that. We got a bunch of restacks. We got people liking on the Substack. This is the future here, folks. Not some place that allows Antifa to be their moderators in the back and do crazy crap that would basically get them in trouble in other ways. But such as the old tubes here in the Borgarino, when you're working for the devil. We love having you here. If you want to keep the devil away, the best way to do it is to become a member here on the Crisis Report, like Water Tiger, or who was the other one was over there? Bad Bobber was here earlier. If you want to become a member, it greatly helps. I think they've all gone to bed. But yeah, hit that like button, do the subscribe thing, darken the bell. We love having you here. And for a couple bucks a month, you can become a member, help the channel, keep the intel flowing. Or you can join us on Subscribestar or Locals, a couple bucks a month there. Great content, get you kicked off Facebook. We're brought to you by Augusta Precious Metals. If you want to check into that, link in the description. And we're on Gab, Minds, Truth, Twitter, X, and of course the others. And Substack, which you can become a member of and pay, or you can get it for free, whatever you want to do. And that is growing in leaps and bounds. So most places are. I'm growing pretty much everywhere, with the exception of this platform. Strangely enough, I wonder what that is. I have no clue. I have no clue. Anyway, folks, we appreciate you being here. If you like it, as PAEMT is saying here, double tap that button on the screen. Just double tap the screen if you're watching on mobile, and it will give it a like. It does help. And fight the good fight with me, because we got a lot of crappy people out there trying to do crappy things and enslave you. And we have to tell you all about it, so we don't have to worry about them. And you can get your information and move on with your life and not sit there and doom scroll, because we do that for you. 20 to 30 minutes, get everything you need to know, and then you move on with your life. That's a Crisis Report, friends. God bless you all. We appreciate you being here, and we will see you on the next one. Have a great night.